Hi, Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera. You are watching a very special recording of Agenda AWANI, and right here in Bali, my first time to Bali, and I think the first time I'm doing this for Agenda in Bali, this very, very amazing island. But what's more amazing for this visit is, of course, the ASEAN Rice Bowl Startup Awards 2018, and Agenda AWANI, Astro AWANI has always been looking at startups, digital economy, anything that can disrupt the conditions that we are in and make and improve people's lives. And that's easier said than done, especially in our parts of the world. However, at the ASEAN Rice Bowl Startups Award, it's not just about winning something. There's more than 2,000 entries of contestants, and the best of them filtered down to maybe just over 100. It's not about what they're winning, but it's that petite size of that 100, 200 number where amazing group of people sit together and things are networked, friendships are made, trust is fostered, and businesses will flow. However, if I put the phrase artificial intelligence into it, then some of you will already be like, because artificial intelligence is like during when I was in school and young, it's like mentioning additional mathematics. The moment you mention add maths to any student, you're like, maybe even now like that, see, you're cringing already. However, I have a new friend. That's the focus of ASEAN Rice Bowl Startup Award. My new friend is Toby Ruckert. He is a serial entrepreneur. He's going to tell us more about AI and IoTs and stuff. But I think you also must know that he's also a classical pianist. Go and Google that out. Is there a link between being magnificent at playing classical piano and the mathematical equation of artificial intelligence and data? So Toby, CEO and founder of Unified Inbox, or UIB.
Yes.
I'm not even going to ask what that means, but what I'm going to ask you first is, in the days of social media, the moment you mention AI, it's like the Terminator movie becoming reality, where the machines, the computers, the servers are going to be so sophisticated, they're going to have a thinking of their own, and they're going to act on their own, and we are reduced to every other stuff. So before we go to the intellectual side, the business side, the startup side, I just want to clear that popular conception first.
So, I believe from a psychological perspective, people are always afraid of the unknown. And AI, even the term itself, is pretty much unknown to a lot of people. So artificial intelligence doesn't mean that it is like a human intelligence. It's actually still quite dumb. So artificial intelligence needs us to teach it what it wants to be in the future. So right now we are in a situation where I would say we are using virtual assistants to help us do our work, but these virtual assistants are using us to actually become intelligent. So in due course, what you will see is that humans will get more lazy. I mean, that is a natural progression. And artificial intelligence will get more intelligent. Okay. But that does not necessarily mean it will have a bad attitude towards us. There's a big difference between what we consider artificial intelligence and ethics, empathy. This is maybe for the later part of the discussion. But I think a simple definition, and this is why people should not necessarily be afraid of artificial intelligence, is if an AI can do a job, especially a repetitive job, as good or better as a human, then we can consider it artificially intelligent.
I want to go there straight away and put on a more realistic focus. Driving cars, driving buses, driving trucks. Whenever there's human helming it, there's always the human factor. Human can be tired, human can be falling asleep, human can be arguing with someone else in the car and losing concentration. But a machine designed specifically to do just that, like an escalator that's been told that you just move up and down and up and down. Isn't that good? One. Second, that opens up a whole new set of opportunities and thinking. It's like a new supply chain just erupted from there. So is this how founders, co-founders of startups should be thinking when it comes to AI?
Well, they are thinking like that. Otherwise, they would not venture into the unknown. The question is what the general public, government, policymakers, and compliance.
The startups already in AI, yes. But what about other startups and startups want to be? Because I'm sure quite a few still thinking that AI is a tough, complex thing that might not be able for me to get into.
Okay, so I come back to your original introduction for that. You mentioned I'm a classical musician, piano. I'm happy to send the link as well. SoundCloud has it. Anyways, in my studies, 90% of the people who studied music were really good at math, right? Because music has a lot to do with numbers, just like math has. So earlier this morning I was asked, so how did you make that transition from music to becoming a tech entrepreneur? I can't see that link. Well, I'll tell you what, if you consider AI in the tech part today, I mean pretty much any startup that does something with tech today has an AI element somewhere. If not, how to get funded? That's a different question, right? So, but to my point, AI is fundamentally driven by algorithms. Algorithms are fundamentally driven by numbers.
Correct.
So that link between tech today and math and music through numbers is a very clear link. Now, entrepreneurship is first and foremost a creative profession, more than anything else. Management is there, operations, processes, all are there, but if you are not a very creative person with creative problem-solving skills, that's the number one skill set you need to be an entrepreneur. You can't cross that bridge or go through the wall that is right in front of you. There's so much adversity as an entrepreneur. So a tech entrepreneur, and coming back to music is creative, but it also has these numbers in it through math. So that transition from musician to tech entrepreneur is actually an excellent transition. Now, to your question, with regards to AI, you don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to be in tech today. You could be a movie maker.
Correct.
Yeah, but with a good logical mind, with a good sense for psychology and humans and what they want, and you could start an AI company. There's no reason why you could not. You need to identify a need in the market, come up with a good idea, surround yourselves with the right team members, and the right team members don't have to be necessarily expensive engineers. You need perhaps one good technical co-founder, like I have. But in this case, what is really important is that you get freshers, like math graduates as an example, that you can train neutrally in AI. So you combine the expertise with numbers, with a creative element. If you have that, and you have good human and managerial skills, you can start an AI startup today.
But what about once we get past the perception?
Yeah.
How do we make AI and IoT, later I'll go to what you guys are doing at UIB, solve the world's problem? Because apparently human conceptualization is not good enough to solve it. Like the top people and leaders of the world are still arguing whether there's climate change or not. But I think things like this, the computer just wouldn't have any bias. It just calculates whatever input of data that we put into it, and we can see the figures for ourselves. Is it man-made? Is it a natural Anthropocene or whatever, Anthropocene and stuff like that? And how do we convince the majority, because we have acknowledged that there's an issue there, of this, because if we don't use the full might of the technological wonders like AI and big data, then how are we going to solve the greatest problems that humanity is facing?
Yeah, look, I mean, you're absolutely spot on. I will give a practical example, and then let's talk a little bit about the ethics involved in that. So number one is, do you know whether the greenery on Earth has increased or decreased in the past 10 years? Has it increased or decreased?
Definitely decrease.
Okay. It has increased.
Really?
Yes. The World Economic Forum just published that recently. I also did not know. By sheer chance, I read that yesterday. Now, what do you think? Which countries have contributed the most to that increase of greenery on the planet?
I don't know, Scandinavian?
I thought the same. It's India and China.
Okay.
So no one would have ever thought that. Do you know where this information comes from? Satellite pictures.
All right.
Do you know who analyzes these satellite pictures?
Yes, sir.
AI.
AI, okay.
All right. So coming to that point, exactly to your point, if we are not using the might of the technology and the AI, we are believing false information, just like false news, or fake news, but even worse, because we believe the information to be technically true, which it isn't. So in this case, if we apply this to other things, and we just neutrally look at the information that is given to us by technology, unaltered. Yeah. A satellite picture that no one interferes with is a satellite picture. Yeah. If the greenery has increased in China, green. it's increased, you know? Yeah. So it's a fact. So that helps us to make better decisions. It helps us to say, hey, these waterways, you know, we need to clean them up, or they're drying out, or we need to do something. There are many ways that AI can help there, and the data analysis. But there's a challenge also. Because of that fear of AI, they are forming a lot of, and I think there is a need to form ethics and councils around what AI is allowed to do and what it can and should do. But there's a rule in life, in my personal opinion, it's a bit philosophical. If you put something in a box, this is also why I changed my company name, by the way.
Okay.
If you put something in a box, it can never achieve its full potential. So good and bad. For example, it's like light and shadow. You increase something on the positive side, some negative will increase. You increase something on the negative, some positive force will rise.
It's yin and yang.
But the point is, you increase the spectrum. So if you try to put AI from an ethical point of view in a box, it will not achieve its full intelligence in the word AI. So sometimes we have to, I agree with your point, we have to give more, we have to lose our fear of AI, and we need to leverage these technologies more and faster for our societies and our planet. One disadvantage I want to say, I was recently boarding a flight of an airline from Europe to the Middle East, and in the launch I said, what's the price to upgrade the ticket? Okay. And I think it was $500, and I said, okay, upgrade the ticket. And that lady called the hotline. She had called 60 seconds before. And she said, oh, the price has increased, it's now 2,000. I said, 60 seconds ago, it was 500. Yeah. I'm not going to pay 2,000. She said, I'm sorry. I said, is it now overbooked? Are there many people? No, it's an algorithm. Okay. So that's the other side of the coin. Yeah. So now there was no human in a position to make a decision. Right. And that's a problem. Yeah. Because the human would have said, you know, that space is empty. My company makes $500 more. Maybe I get a commission, maybe not. Yeah. Why would you not upgrade?
Even as simple as going into the office. If everybody uses a smart card, then, but that one day, your smart card doesn't work. And if there's nobody to call, you cannot go into that building, for example. So computer cannot make that exception unless it's programmed into. I have to go for a break, but once we are back, I want to talk about this unified box.
Unified AI, we call it now.
Okay, unified AI, fine.
No more box, too small.
Okay, box is too small, yes. But we all have boxes in our mind, so let's break that too after this break. Don't be afraid of admats. Classical music, like being a classical pianist, because if you don't, you'll be like my new friend, who's really making great strides, linking himself up to crazy elite group of people who are looking at the world and spearheading changes using the latest technology like AI. But I want to bring the discussion from that high ceiling down to the ground. And you chose Box, you chose Unity in your brand name for the startup that you did. You chose AI, obviously, you've made the point between moving from classical music to mathematics and what AI is. But why the Box? What do you want to unify? And how is what you're doing in AI and IoT making our life full of better promises?
So when we started, the company name was actually called Unified Inbox, and the idea was simply to bring all these different communication channels that we use, especially in Asia today, whether that's your WhatsApp, your Line, your Viber, your WeChat, you know, etc. If in one single application, because we all do this, right? We have a notification, we go there, we check. Then we go to the next app, and we do that repetitively over the day. So the idea was create a unified inbox in one app. But people like their apps. So we realized rather than developing a new app, we basically simply create a middleware technology that can route messages between these different messaging channels, so to speak. So that's also why we rebranded the company to UIB, and why our product is now called Unified AI. And what we have done is we, instead of focusing from human to human communication, which these messaging apps are doing in a phenomenal way, that's why they are so successful, we said there's a real problem between human to machine communication. So I give you an example, perhaps some of you know Amazon's Alexa or Echo, the smart speakers, same with Google Home or Ling Long Ding Dong in China, etc. So the problem with these smart speakers is they work very well when you're in a home. They work very well on voice. But like I'm from Germany, you know, originally my English was not very good. So if you have an accent, many of these smart speakers, they don't understand you properly. Yeah. So the same applies to many people in Asia. But texting is very easy. Yes. Right? So what we said is, and also more importantly, when you text as an end user, you initiate the conversation. Sure. But in the case of a smart speaker, it's always listening for that wake up word. Yeah. So it's literally always listening. So do you want to have something in your home that's always listening? It's also a question. So what we have done is, to address all of these concerns, we have created a unified AI where you can connect different systems, whether that is a customer service backend, say for a telco, where you can connect a smart home, you know, your air conditioner that works with Wi-Fi, your dishwasher, your fridge, your camera, your door lock. You can connect all of this via Wi-Fi to this system. And they become friends on, say, your WhatsApp, for example. So you can talk to your entire smart devices in your home via WhatsApp. You can say text or voice. You can say, hey, open the door, turn the lights off, or what's inside the fridge, and you get a photo of what's inside the fridge.
So what connects the already there WhatsApp technology to all these different programming, coding, and whatever, AI and chatbots?
That's what we do. Exactly. So we have, on one side, we have all the human channels, all the messaging and chat apps. On the other side, we have all the IoT channels, right? And you know, there are different brands and manufacturers. And we combine these two, we call it conversational IoT.
I had to discuss one time only, I'm not that clever, I look clever, about NLP. Mm-hmm. So how does that feature into what you're doing now or the future? Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, I might not even have to switch on my mobile phone. You know, if at a certain amount of day, it's almost like a virtual digital assistant that understands this is the time that I usually come home. The moment I enter the door, facial recognition sees my face and already preset the things that I like. But if I change my mood for that day, I could just snap my finger and it will go to the next mood or whatever. Is that where we're going? Because at the end of the day, I don't want to run here and ensure that the laundry is done in the washing machine. And did I really lock the front door when I came in and stuff like that? Is that where we're going in the smartness of things that will be enabled by what you have done?
I think taking the NLP discussion aside, that's exactly where we're going. Because I mean, if I have the data of a smart home collectively, you know, for example, it's raining, you have a sensor on the roof, the window is open, right? I mean, if you can close the window, you initially, just to take the fear away of people, what we are doing is you'll get a notification saying, hey, it's raining, your window is open, would you like me to close it? So as a human, you're still in power. But at a later point in time, I mean, why would it not close automatically? Why does it have to bother you?
Correct.
But there has to be a transitional phase in the evolution of human-machine, or not just interaction, also trust. There's evolution of trust between humans and machines. So the human should, for the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, be in charge of the decision-making capability. But after, say, 5 or 10 years, there has to be a lot of autonomy on the machines to really make, say, a smart home environment
Why is
productive.
that already happening in cars? Like many modern cars, you don't have to switch the wiper on when even sometimes it's not even raining, but you see the wiper moving, but there's a speck of moisture somewhere.
Good example,
Right?
very good example.
So okay, NLP,
So NLP, look, I mean, NLP goes more into the deep tech space, right?
neuro-linguistic
Programming, yeah. Exactly, So there are many companies that focus on NLP, but it's quite resource intensive. So if you look NLP, like neuro-linguistic programming, it at the end of the day, it's neuro-linguistic programming, natural language programming in terms of technology, right? The term language is very important here because you have to do it literally for every language. So, for example, Burmese, right? It has 2 font types. It's a very unique type of NLP that you need. So in our case, in our unified AI, you can define the content, say, for a hotel, for a telco, for a smart home, for museums, for different environments. And that content works independent of the underlying NLP technology. Because for Burmese, you're going to use provider A. For Arabic, you're going to use provider B, right? So for Bahasa, it's again another provider because they're specialists in that. So we need to, our technology abstracts the content, the intelligence between human and machines and those interactions from the underlying algorithmic intelligence that is unique to a specific language.
Do you have to do that, or you work with other?
No. So our with the exception of smart home, where we have our own NLP because it's specific to our use case and conversational IoT, we generally partner with NLP providers.
Is there any NLP providers in Bahasa?
Yes, there are. There are specific ones like for some Chinese languages, Hokkien, etc., Cantonese. Then there is a great startup here from Myanmar who looks into Burmese. Thai, Vietnamese, they are all specific. But then you have global players like, say, an IBM, a Microsoft.
In Malaysia?
And so in Malaysia, the Malaysian language is actually really nice for natural language.
Nice people too.
Yeah, I know. I spent a lot of time in Kuala Lumpur. So, yeah.
So is this available, what you're doing in Malaysia?
Yeah, it's fully available. I mean, we're headquartered in Singapore. And
So how do I get it? Don't tell me it's going to cost me like more than
yeah, fair enough.
$1,000
No
US
Porsche.
dollars.
No, actually, our business model is B2B2C. So we sell our technology to Samsung, to to Bosch, to
the bigger players.
to the brands that then carry it into the market. So the end user typically doesn't have to pay. But now it gets very interesting from a business model point of view. If you talk to a voice-activated speaker, that data remains with that company.
Correct.
So Google, the data remains with Google Home. Yes. Amazon, it remains with Amazon through Echo, right? In our case, the data remains with the brand of the manufacturer that you trust and choose to buy. So it empowers your privacy, I would say.
And it have your attitudes and history of attitudes and routines that my relationship with the brand of my washing machine will be more intimate because they know exactly how much detergent I like and softener and whatever else, warm water or not. That's the potential for the future.
Look, maybe not the washing machine, but say the coffee machine. People are very particular about their coffee.
Trust me, in Malaysia, washing machine is more important.
Okay, fair enough.
My lady producer is already 30 seconds left.
Sure.
What's your mentoring advice would be to the whole wannabe startup entrepreneurs, founders, co-founders, that's still just beginning and looking, maybe considering AI and IoT?
AI and IoT, who identify a niche problem. and own the solution to that problem. That is number one. Don't go too broad. The big guys got discovered. In general, I would say.
Would you want to work with startups in ASEAN?
Yeah, I'm working with them.
Like
like
what kind of startup would interest you?
Well, I mean, we're one of the few official resellers, say, of the WhatsApp Business API. So most of the startups, instead of building their own apps, they're interested in chatbots. And if they have access to this API, it helps them a lot to save costs on the mobile app development, and they reach people on the channel that they're on.
So many more questions, but that's the time we have. My new friend,
Appreciate it.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Because I want to discuss with Toby that it's not just the B2B. If you get them with information and content before they go into AI and IoT. So while I'm turning on that coffee machine that you love so much to IoT and AI, it will also update me of the happening outside the home or the office, what's important to me. That's where we, Astro AWANI, comes in. I will sit down with him. He will have his coffee. I will have my favorite Balinese drink. And this is the advantage of being the ASEAN Rice Bowl Awards, Startup Awards at that for 2018. Thanks to MyNav. I'll see you many more interviews. So keep on tuning in to 501 AWANI.